All right, my love. All right. It's okay. It's all right. All right. Day 3 of summer. While everybody's watching Tampa and Miami, we're going to bring it back today to the fastest growing city in Central Florida, which is St. Cloud, our hometown. Um, and we're out here quietly being built in eastern Osceola. And I'm calling it now. St. Cloud is about to have its breakout decade. I was at the city council meeting a couple months back, and they had announced that the projection of St. Cloud's growth was under projected by over 20,000 people between 2020 and 2025. So, good afternoon. Welcome back to Florida Growth Watch, where we follow the money, the cranes, and the moving trucks to show you where Florida is actually headed. So, we're coming to you live from Osceola County today. And I want to start with a number that stops people in their tracks. Okay. St. Cloud, Florida, is a city a lot of people still picture as a quiet, small lakeside town, and it's now home to roughly 76,800 residents and growing almost 4% per year, right? Since the 2020 census, it's grown more than 29%. And to put that in perspective, between 2020 and 2024, St. Cloud has grown about 19.5%, while neighboring Kissimmee's to the west side of St. Cloud, Orlando's to the north side of St. Cloud, um, or rather northwest side of St. Cloud. Um, it's beyond growing at this point. I think it's beginning to outgrow its neighbors, right? And that's why this episode is all about the breakout decade, right? St. Cloud's breakout decade. So yesterday we talked about Tampa Bay and the Gulf Coast and all of the infrastructure, big money going into Tampa Bay's infrastructure. And today we're swinging back into Central Florida because something is happening here that most people outside of the county haven't connected yet, right? So now, if we zoom out and we just look at Osceola County, right? That's St. Cloud, Kissimmee, parts of Davenport, Poinciana. Um, so Osceola County has grown about a total of about 70% in the last 2 decades, over 20 years ago, right? To more than 460,000 people. And the planners are expecting it to pass 700,000 by 2050. Now, I remember when we first came to Osceola County in 1997. Between 1997 and 1999, we were able to get from Kissimmee to anywhere in Orlando in roughly about 10 to 15 minutes. We used to get to the Florida Mall within 10 to 15 minutes. That's how little traffic there was. So this is definitely not a trend. This is an ongoing tidal wave of demand. And St. Cloud sits right in the path of it, right? On the eastern edge, where there's still lots of land to build a real community, and it's going to be more than just rooftops, right? Another thing about St. Cloud is, I want to say a little over 10 years ago, we didn't even have a Starbucks here in St. Cloud. We did not even have a Starbucks. Now, Starbucks, I know of the locations I know here in St. Cloud that I can think of off of the top of my head. There's one, two, three, two on 192, one off of Old Canoe Creek Road. So I want to say a minimum of 3 locations for Starbucks here directly in the immediate St. Cloud area. Yeah, there's 3. um, as far as I know. And I'm pretty sure they've got their eyes on some location going up here in the near future, going up towards Magnolia Square with the 34771 zip code. So, as we know, that growth without jobs is just a bedroom community, and the headline that changes the math for St. Cloud and Osceola is what I was talking about a couple days ago, NeoCity, right? So the NeoCity in Kissimmee is the 500 acre technology district, right? And we spoke about the Osceola commissioners approving the development agreement with Elspies, the South Korean semiconductor company, for a $470 million investment and at least 600 high wage jobs, averaging about 85,000 per year. Um, and it's nearly a 40-acre footprint, the largest private site at NeoCity to date. And they're making the high performance silicone capacitor technology that goes into all the AI systems, so data centers and all that jive is a major subject online, right? Then we have the it goes into automotive and aerospace, all the things related to the government as well. um and the first 300 jobs are targeted by 2030, with a second phase facility by 2037. And why would that matter to a homeowner in St. Cloud, right? Because 85,000 average wage advanced manufacturing jobs create demand for housing, restaurants, services, and schools, and they tend to be sticky, multi decade employees. This is the same playbook that turned Lake Nona's medical city into a powerhouse, now playing out one county over. So, Orange County, Lake Nona is in Orange County, one county north of us. And the new restaurants sprouting up. When you have restaurants that either fail or shut down and another one comes over and is successful because it's a new concept, or instead of it being a big brand name, it is a hole in the wall brand, but filling in the space, right? We have a Texas Roadhouse is brand new, just opened up not too long ago. We did we attended their sneak peek event back a few weeks ago, right there in Kissimmee, in the borderline of Kissimmee and St. Cloud. And this is just one. This is just phase one. Neo City is expanding into St. Cloud. We're not going to dive too deep into that subject right now because that's a whole nother live in and of itself. But let's talk about the community that's being built here in St. Cloud, the biggest community that's being built, and I would consider it the talk of the town. And it's been the talk of the town for at least over 5 years now, covering a lot of land, right? And that's the community of Sunbridge, happening on the north side of St. Cloud, which is just south of the border, crossing over from Lake Nona to St. Cloud. Excuse me. And this is where people are actually going to live, right? Just east of Lake Nona, and basically the same developer behind Lake Nona, which is the Tavistock Group, is building what's called Sunbridge, a 24,000 acre master plan community that crosses into St. Cloud. Okay. And the first village that is most relevant is Weslyn Park, which is already delivering homes roughly in the high 300s to mid 600s, and in some cases 700,000 and 800,000s, right? And these aren't the typical or ordinary subdivisions, um, simply because of the infrastructure that's being put out there. There's gigabit fiber to every home. um, EV charging ready garages set as a standard, right? Solar ready roofs and trails, the outdoor trails connecting you to parks. And this year, Tavistock actually started what's called the Watershed, a lakefront welcome center anchoring Sunbridge's first mixed use neighborhood, right? And basically, there's going to be a resort style amenity center coming in 2027. It's in the process of being built, and the builders who are in this neighborhood specifically include Ashton Woods, David Weekley, Pulte, and Toll Brothers. So, in my opinion, at least, well, they're all, you know, considered high caliber builders. And when they commit this caliber of builders committing to a place like this, they're not betting on just the next 20 months in and out. They are betting on the next 20 years. Think about that, 24,000 acre site. And then you have all the infrastructure that's coming in. There's a lot of road work going on in bits and pieces, as well as in totality. Narcoosi, for example, Narcoosi wasn't always a 2-lane street up and down. When we first moved down here, Narcoosi Road was straight fields and fields only. There were no large buildings, there were no communities or subdivisions going up. It was one way up, one way down. Most of the fields contained cows, right? And that's what happens. Fast growth puts pressure on roads, and St. Cloud is definitely feeling it, and it's showing. We have road work happening on Narcoosi. We have road work happening on Nolte Road, and just off of Nolte Road, from or not from, towards the Turnpike, where we have that exit 240 on Whaley Creek Road. They're actually at the end of Nolte Road, approaching the Turnpike. They're actually building a new ramp that's going to go directly from Nolte Road onto the Florida's Turnpike heading north, right? So it is being funded to catch up and keep up with all of the population growth. The 534 extension will add about 3.5 miles of new roadway between Lake Nona and Narcoosi into the St. Cloud Sunbridge area, specifically to relieve that congestion that's happening right there going up Narcoosi just before, if you're going north on Narcoosi, just before Krellis. I want to say it's Krillis or Krellis. So in between, is it, I can't forget, I can't remember exactly how to say it, if it's Krillis or Cyril's. I think it's Cyril's. Between Cyril's and Boggy Creek Road, there's some high congestion there, most if not every day. Then there's the continued work on the Poinciana Parkway and its connection toward I-4 and the Turnpike. The Turnpike has widening projects moving through this year. And the county is even putting money into studying a Sunrail expansion as part of as the Sunshine Corridor. So the main takeaway for buyers coming in is that the commute pain points you hear about today are exactly the corridors getting the next wave of investment. So those are all good indicators. Okay. Then further expanding on the infrastructure is the healthcare, the schools coming in, and just the quality of your daily life, right? So that's what makes growth stick. And on healthcare, Orlando Health St. Cloud is expanding. A new 2-story wing added a 10-bed ICU and advanced cardiac procedure rooms. So you're not having to drive to Orlando for serious care. You can stay right here in the city of St. Cloud. The district is opening a new high school on Nova Road. So a lot of development going on along Nova Road, and there are new K through 8 schools that are being built directly inside new St. Cloud subdivisions, just like Triple H Ranch. Um, in Kindred, they have a K through 8 school that was built for the community of Kindred in Kissimmee, and the long game is even bigger, right? So there's the planned heritage project, part of the Cross Prairie community, and that's set to begin late this year with up to 1,200 homes, 600 hotel rooms, and around 200 square feet of medical and institutional space, as well, and this is big, as well as roughly around 2.7 million square feet of commercial and office space. So that's pretty much an entirely new economic center being built from the ground up, from scratch, right? So, what is this going to mean for prices right now, right? Here's the balanced truth. As of spring 2026, Osceola County's median listing price is around the low 400s, 417,000, and inventory has actually ticked up to roughly around 5,700 homes for sale. So, in fact, Osceola County, including South Kissimmee and the South St. Cloud corridor, is one of the more buyer-friendly, softer markets in the Orlando metro right now. Remember what I was saying yesterday? There's high negotiability right in this very moment. Now, although you may be able to get a bigger house in, let's just say, Polk County, the Davenport area, before people were opting into Polk County, Davenport, because they can get homes in St. Cloud fairly similar for a lot less in Davenport. Well, now with as much negotiability as there is, and the length of days that homes are staying on the market, St. Cloud has softened up to be more inviting for buyers now in today's market, right? So the prices have been pretty flat year over year. For a relocating family or an investor, it's the right window, right? You get negotiating leverage today, where the long-term demand drivers, all the things that are still coming in regardless of the market's climate, um, and that's the jobs, master planned communities, the healthcare, the roads, everything is pointing up regardless of how slow it may seem, right? Or how many reductions you're seeing in price points, right? So the what makes it the sweet spot is that you rarely get both leverage and growth as a story happening all at once. So this is like, when you're ready to jump into double dutch, right? You got two ropes spinning round and round, and you're just wanting to time it. Well, right now is the time to jump right in. So the big picture is that St. Cloud is no longer Orlando's quiet little cousin. People are definitely choosing to stay right there in 34771 Magnolia Square over paying both Lake Nona's prices and Orange County's taxes, right? Although that may change with the property taxes potentially going away, right? So, it's the eastern frontier of one of the fastest growing counties in America, which is Osceola County. Um, we have the semiconductor jobs engine at NeoCity, a 24,000 acre Tavistock community at Sunbridge. It's going to bring in a lot of construction work, or it's bringing in, or has already brought in a lot of construction work. Then the hospitals and schools expanding to match, as well as the roads finally getting funded and worked on, right? So whether you're moving here, building a real estate business here, or investing here, this place is the place to understand, to begin understanding now. Okay, not in 5 years when everyone's talking about it, but now. And that's why I'm doing Florida Growth Watch, just to make sure you all get there early, get there informed, and get the best of the best. So we're gonna keep this going. If anybody is looking to Osceola County, St. Cloud, Kissimmee, definitely reach out, and we will be seeing you all again tomorrow.